A prison built to break men, where hope slowly dies behind cold stone walls. But one quiet banker walked in, and 20 years later, he vanished like a ghost. No alarms, no witnesses, just a hole in the wall, hidden behind a poster. And what the guards discovered next would become one of the most legendary prison escapes in history. My name is Jessica Moore, and welcome to Jessica Recaps. One morning at Shawshank Prison, something strange happened. During roll call, prisoner number 245 never appeared. The guard marched toward the cell, annoyed. "You'd better be sick or dead." But when he opened the door, the guard froze. The cell was empty. No broken bars, no open door, just a neatly made bed and a poster hanging quietly on the wall. In anger, he grabbed a rock and hurled it at the wall. The rock tore straight through the poster, revealing a dark hole behind it, a tunnel. The prisoner had escaped. Police searched the area immediately, but all they found near a sewage ditch was an old prison uniform and a tiny rock hammer worn almost to dust. The man who escaped was Andy Dufresne, and his impossible plan had started nearly 20 years earlier. Back in 1947, a new group of prisoners arrived at Shawshank. The older inmates watched from the yard with excitement. New prisoners meant new bets. Every year they gambled on one simple question: who would break first? Most of the men chose a nervous, overweight prisoner who looked ready to cry. But one inmate named Red made a different choice. He pointed at a tall, quiet man with glasses, Andy Dufresne. Red bet 10 cigarettes that Andy would crack first, but he couldn't have been more wrong. After the prisoners were locked in for the night, the newcomers began to panic. One man started crying uncontrollably, begging to go home. The guards stormed in. Captain Hadley dragged the man outside and beat him brutally in front of everyone. The next morning, the prisoners heard the news. The man had died. At first, Andy kept completely to himself. He rarely spoke, he rarely reacted. But Red became curious about him. Soon, he learned Andy's story. Andy once was a successful banker. One night, he discovered his wife was cheating on him. Drunk and furious, Andy drove to the house with a gun, planning revenge. But before he could act, someone else murdered both his wife and her lover. All the evidence pointed straight at Andy, and the court sentenced him to 2 life sentences for murders he never committed. About a month after arriving, Andy finally approached Red in the prison yard. Red was known as the man who could get things, anything. Andy quietly asked for a rock hammer, a small tool used for carving rocks. Red was suspicious. "You planning to dig your way out?" he joked. But when Red saw the tool, he laughed. The hammer was tiny. At that size, digging through prison walls would take 600 years. So, Red smuggled it in. But life inside Shawshank was brutal. Andy quickly became a target for a gang known as the Sisters. They harassed him constantly. Every time Andy resisted, they beat him badly. For 2 years, Andy endured it silently. His face was often bruised, but he never complained. Until one day, everything changed. A group of prisoners was sent to repair the prison roof. Andy overheard Captain Hadley complaining about taxes on a large inheritance. Suddenly, Andy approached Hadley. The guards nearly threw him off the roof for speaking, but Andy calmly explained a legal tax loophole. If he transferred the money to his wife as a gift, he could avoid paying taxes entirely. The guards were stunned, but Andy had one small request. Instead of paying him, give each prisoner on the roof 3 cold beers. That afternoon, 12 inmates sat on the rooftop under the sun, drinking beer like free men. For a brief moment, Shawshank disappeared, and Andy earned the respect of every man there. After that, Andy's life changed. The guards began asking him for financial advice. Soon, even Warden Norton used Andy to handle taxes and paperwork. Andy was transferred to the prison library. It was small and nearly useless, but Andy had bigger ideas. He began writing letters to the state government, asking for funding. 1 letter every week, for years. Everyone thought it was pointless, but Andy never stopped. Then, one day, tragedy struck inside the prison. The elderly librarian Brooks was finally granted parole after 50 years behind bars. Instead of celebrating, Brooks panicked. He didn't want to leave. Shawshank was the only world he knew. Red explained something chilling to Andy. After enough time, prison doesn't just hold your body, it owns your mind. Outside the walls, Brooks felt lost and alone, and soon after his release, he took his own life. The news shook everyone, but Andy kept writing letters. 6 years later, the government finally responded. They sent money and boxes of books. Andy had won. The Shawshank Library slowly became one of the best prison libraries in the state. Around this time, Warden Norton began running a massive prison labor program. Prisoners worked construction jobs for free. Companies paid the warden under the table. Years passed. Then a young inmate named Tommy Williams arrived. One night during a conversation, Tommy mentioned something shocking. At another prison, a criminal once bragged about committing a double murder, a woman and her lover, the exact same crime Andy had been convicted of. Andy finally had proof of his innocence. He rushed to tell Warden Norton, but the warden refused to reopen the case. Andy was too valuable. Without him, the warden's illegal money scheme would collapse. So Norton made a horrifying decision. Tommy was taken outside the prison and shot by guards. They claimed he tried to escape. Andy's last chance at freedom had just been erased. And that was the moment everything changed. After Tommy's death, Andy refused to continue working for the warden. Norton responded by throwing him into solitary confinement for a month. When Andy finally returned, Red noticed something strange. Andy seemed calm, almost peaceful. He told Red about a dream. If he ever got out, he would go to a small Mexican town by the ocean, a place with no memory. Years passed. Eventually, Red faced his third parole hearing. This time, he spoke honestly, not begging, not pretending, just telling the truth about the man he used to be. And finally, after 40 years, Red was released. But freedom felt terrifying. Just like Brooks, he struggled to adjust to life outside. Then he remembered Andy's message. Red traveled to the hayfield Andy mentioned. Under the oak tree, he found a rock, and beneath it, a letter and some money. Andy was waiting for him in Mexico. The letter ended with words Red would never forget. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. For the first time in his life, Red broke the rules. He crossed the border, and days later, on a quiet beach beside a bright blue ocean, two old friends finally reunited, free men at last. And that's the incredible story of the Shawshank Redemption, a story that reminds us, even in the darkest places, hope can still survive. If you enjoyed this recap, let me know your thoughts about the movie in the comments. And if you love cinematic movie recaps like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Jessica Recaps for more stories just like this. And if you want to watch another incredible story, check out the next video on your screen, the most genius bank heist ever using magic. Trust me, you don't want to miss that one.